Giro, I show a whole range of emotion. Anger, rage, hate. Hate.
Don't trust us. We've no idea what we're doing.
You've used that one.
I know. I'm running out of ways to start. I shouldn't have started it in the first place.
This is a bad idea. You've reached episode 8.
Yeah. It reminds me... Oh, before we go on, how you doing, you slime ball maggot?
Slime ball maggot.
Yeah.
That's just cruel.
Maggoty slime ball.
Better. Prefer
Okay.
that one.
No, there's it's like there's a series of books that Kinsey Milhone, who was at Sue Grafton, right?
Okay.
Pulp murder mysteries, and it's that she uses the alphabet. So the first one is like A for alibi, B for burglar, and that's all right until you start getting to like, oh no, it's like Y for X for X-ray machine, or it's like you're now having to create your entire plots and stories around the alphabet.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good idea. The first couple fine, but then you're trapped, aren't you, into this?
I remember as a kid, I had a border around my bedroom wall with the alphabet on it, and it had a big colourful drawing for each letter. So A was for apple, Big Apple. You got to X, didn't even bother. It was X as in fox.
Yes.
With the X at the end bolded in a picture of a fox.
Yeah, that's you see that sometimes today. That's what they do, Fox or Box or something. But I prefer the traditional xylophone
Or X-ray.
or X-ray. Yeah, try to
With
explain that.
Xanadu.
Yeah, could do.
There's a song about that.
There's a movie about Xanadu
There you go.
starring Olivia Newton-John.
People must love that. She's like the nation's sweetheart.
What nation?
America. Or Australia? Is she American? I can't remember.
She's Australian.
Yeah, I thought she was Australian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone loves her.
Anyway, none of this Olivia Newton-John malarkey.
Not
What-
till season 2.
No. What about what about the summary this week? Fancy it?
Sure.
Crack on.
In Over My Dead Bodyguard, Inspector Hammer is appointed by the police commissioner to keep Captain Trunk alive ahead of giving evidence against a narcotics syndicate in the coming days. With Trunk's identity leaked in the press and assassins on his tail, Hammer takes advantage of a minor injury to fake the captain's death. It seems a foolproof plan, but one mistake leads to a final showdown with Trunk and Hammer's lives on the line.
Thank you, Ian. We begin this week in the precinct and we see a headline in a newspaper revealing that Captain Trunk will be testifying in front of a grand jury. He's going to be a grass.
Well, he's a policeman. That's his...
Snitch.
No, I don't think you count as a grass when you're a policeman.
Dory DeRoe is concerned about his safety, whilst Sledge is more annoyed about press freedom.
Yes.
He thinks they've got too much.
He says, that's what I hate about the newspapers in this country. They find out things, and then they write about them.
They are summoned into Trunk's office, who has the police commissioner on the phone, and he has some news for them all.
Hello, can everyone hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
And Hammer, are you there?
Yo.
Move over.
Yes, sir. How far?
Not you, Hammer. I'm talking to my driver. I'm calling from my car phone. Hammer, needless to say, I'm livid about today's press leak.
Yes, I am too, sir.
Could you please slow down?
I am too, sir.
Not you, my driver. With the syndicate alerted to Captain Trunk's court appearance Thursday, it's imperative he be placed under your protective custody until then.
Are you talking to me or to the driver?
Your custody, Hammer. This is one instance where a man like you is perfect for this assignment.
No, Commissioner, don't do this to me. Wait, just let me get this straight. I am in charge of the captain, right?
Right. No, not you. Turn left. This is a one-way street. Ah!
I'm not sure that was Hammer's fault.
Not entirely, but he was involved.
And why did the commissioner wait for him to finish speaking slowly before telling him not him?
I don't know. But another genius performance by David Rashi.
Enjoyed
In
that.
that scene, it was great. Now, Trunk is, he's desperate. Sledge can cause injuries even over the telephone, and he is now in charge and responsible for his well-being.
Well, you see that. I think Trunk's rejected this instruction.
Yes, he initially has. A couple of uniformed cops come into the office and tell Trunk that he needs to check the supply cupboard, inventory or something like that.
Yes, he goes with them. He doesn't want Hammer to follow.
No. A few moments later, however, Hammer realises that they're not real cops. He I think he noticed their guns weren't a police issue.
Yes, they weren't, so he chases after them.
And at this point, we see the two cops grab Trunk, pull him into a cupboard, and they're trying to kill him.
Basically, but not very well.
Hammer kicks in the door, and there's a bit of a wrestling match. And eventually, Trunk is freed.
Yeah, but he gets knocked around a bit, mostly by Hammer in the process.
He can't complain, he saved his life.
Well, he does complain, but yes. He also thanks Hammer as they return to the precinct office. But he insists that he's still going to go and meet his ex-wife for dinner that evening.
Yes, I think Dory suggests that he should be moving into a hotel and basically get into hiding, into witness protection.
He's not having it.
No. As you say, he is meeting up with the ex, trying to reconcile things. And we see them at a restaurant. Her name is Renee.
They start with a close-up. Did you think, the first time you watched this, when they zoomed out, that Hammer and Dory were going to be sitting next to them at the same table?
Can't remember, is that what you thought?
That's what I thought, watches. I thought they're going to zoom out from these two and Hammer's going to be sitting right next to her.
That would have been good, but I think this is better.
This is also good, yeah.
So Hammer's standing behind them, trying to look inconspicuous, and Dory's at another table.
They've got walkie-talkies and Hammer's talking very loudly.
Yeah, they're being overtly coppish.
Yes.
And then we've got a great bit where the waiter puts down a plate of salad or something in front of Trunk, and Sledge leaps across.
To test it for him?
Yeah, grabs a handful and stuffs it into his mouth.
That's right.
We need to remember that Trunk is pretending he doesn't know who Dory and Sledge are.
Even after that, he tells his ex-wife that he doesn't know who that man was.
Yeah, to relax and try and enjoy it. She's finding it hard, and she asks him what has turned him into this bitter and angry man.
And just at that moment, you get a smile and a wave from Sledge.
Yeah, he looks over and you see Sledge looking gormless.
Yes, it's perfect.
It was. He admits that he regrets giving up his marriage for his career just before Sledge interrupts a champagne cork.
Well, the champagne cork is loose and then pops.
Yeah.
And Hammer reacts as if it's a gunshot and dives over and flattens Trunk, knocking him off his chair down to the floor.
So they retire to Renee's home.
Well, she's furious.
She is.
Because obviously the police have got involved and that's what's ruined their marriage in the first place.
Yep, but I think he is trying to explain why. So she doesn't know that his life is in danger at the moment.
Yeah. So she agrees to let him explain in her house.
Mm-hmm. All four of them enter the house.
Obviously Hammer and Dory are right on their tail there and they come in too and Hammer needs to check the room is clear.
What happens?
Well, it's a bit slapsticky here. He kind of just starts smashing things with his gun.
I think what's happened is that one of the first times he moves, he knocks out the light. Now, obviously, we need, as the audience, to still be able to see what's going on, but I think the implication is he's in the dark.
Yeah.
So he proceeds to knock over ornaments and
plates and
lights and that type of stuff. Yeah, make a bit of a mess of the house. And Trunk tells Hammer that he's going to go in for a chat and discuss things in the privacy of the bedroom. Under no circumstances have they to enter, or else he will kill Sledgehammer.
Yeah. 30 seconds later, Hammer decides it's been far too quiet.
Yes.
He charges in, shouting, "Freeze!"
But they're just sitting on the edge of the bed, trying to have a quiet chat. So he meekly pulls back, and him and Dory are again outside.
I have to admit, I couldn't watch that scene. The first time I had to stop. When Hammer said far too quiet, I hit pause. And I thought, no, I can't. I just can't.
From outside, they hear a bit of a ruckus.
Yeah, you see assassins have jumped in through the window.
Yes. Sledge initially thinks it's a husband and wife play at work.
Dory wants to go in, but Sledge says, no, you need to understand this is a sensitive time for the captain.
But they hear a gunshot.
At that point, they enter the room and rescue both Trunk and his ex-wife.
So it's decided that the only safe place for Trunk is with Hammer in Hammer's apartment. So they head over there.
They do.
And Sledge can't believe that he would give up his career for a woman. And he doesn't think women have any use whatsoever. And
yeah, he says a real man doesn't need women.
Trunk points out that without a woman, Sledge would not even exist.
And Sledge says,
prove it.
He is Sledge.
He is Sledge. So the next thing we see, Sledge is on his bed.
Well, we've kind of skipped over my favourite bit of this scene. It's really a subtle one.
Okay.
When they first arrive, Sledge says something, I can't remember what it was, and Trunk says that he wants to get a good night's sleep and he'll insult Hammer in the morning.
Yes.
I really like that. I think that's probably one of my favourites from this episode.
So we see them attempting to sleep, but Trunk is being disturbed.
Slimeball. You sea urchin. Maggot! I'm gonna take you in. I'm gonna floss your teeth with a crowbar.
Hammer!
No, what?
You're talking!
Sometimes I arrest people in my sleep, sir.
That's it. First thing in the morning, my life's in danger. You beat me up in the closet. You ruined my evening with my ex-wife. And on top of that, you destroy half her house!
Yeah, we had fun today, but I think it's time we got some sleep.
Trunk's at the end of his tether.
He is. He gets up to either leave or go to the bathroom, and he is shot by an assailant who is outside the window.
Yeah, I wasn't clear. Was this the guy who shows up later?
Yeah, I think it probably is.
I think it might have been.
In any case, the scene fades to the precinct with Hammer leaning over the prone body of Trunk.
Yeah. The next thing we see is a memorial for Trunk at the precinct.
The first thing we see is a newspaper article that reads that Trunk was killed, and Sledge makes a short announcement and speech.
Yes, he likes to. Was it Alexander Haig that he quotes saying, "I'm in charge"?
Yeah.
Everyone seems more upset by that than they were about the idea of Trunk being dead.
Dory is in tears. She can't believe that Sledge is taking this so lightly and is showing no emotion.
Yeah, but it's not just showing emotions. We heard at the start of the episode.
He's got a wide range of them, from anger to rage to hate to hate.
Yeah, that's more emotions than some actors have.
However, Sledge is not in fact so cold and ruthless. He reveals some good news to Dory.
Yeah, he tells her that Trunk is not dead, he's alive and he's in hospital.
Yeah, he's a minor operation, but he'll be fine.
Yeah. She wants to know why he didn't tell her. And he points out that she's a woman and she has access to a phone. That's a stereotype there.
It's an old-fashioned stereotype.
Yeah,
it's only got a grain of truth.
One step away from a mother-in-law joke.
Yes. So we're over in the hospital and they enter Trunk's room. Well, before they enter, they've got a joke password.
Yes, the guard on the door asks Hammer, why did the chicken cross the road?
And he says to avoid the death penalty. And then he's quite pleased. He says to Dory, that was me that came up with that.
Well, he asks her, who do you think came up with that? And she immediately knows it was him. She's not impressed.
No. But Sledge, so they get into the room and he's got some good news, he thinks.
What have you done? Now I have to sedate him.
What are you doing here? I'm enough pain already.
Captain, just calm down. I have news for you.
I've been killed?
Don't believe everything you read in the papers.
They'll never find me now.
Just as I'd planned. The press got us into this mess. I figured the least they could do was get us out. Nice irony, huh?
Hammer, this is brilliant.
And to top it all off, I just called your wife and told her not to worry. Everything's fine.
Of course, you didn't tell her that I was here.
No. Well, yes.
Hammer, at least you told her not to visit because the syndicate may be watching her.
Ah. Well.
Trunk's wife, or ex-wife, Renee is indeed on her way and arrives while they're talking.
Yes.
Just as Dory says, well, I think she'd have been here by now.
A nurse arrives. She's got some medication. And Sledge says that he will have to sample it first.
It's an injection.
Yeah.
He's not so keen, and Trunk thinks it's hilarious.
Yeah. So we see the bad guy. He knocks out a doctor, takes his watch, and we find out he also takes his uniform.
It wasn't clear to me what he was doing to knock out the doctor. It looked like he was putting his fingers in his ears or something.
Some sort of Star Trek grip. Back to Trunk's room. And the bad guy enters as a doctor to administer the anaesthetic.
But not so fast, because Hammer is checking his credentials.
Yeah, he asked for ID and he shows him his name badge.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't suffice.
He shows him a range of gold credit cards.
And he says, yeah, he's a real deal. These are all gold.
Yeah. He then asks Hammer to join him in the operating room because he wants to do a security check.
And when they arrive there, he is knocked out with some sort of anaesthetic gas.
Yes.
Hammer awakes, he's very drowsy, and we see that he's been strapped to an X-ray table.
It's very Bond-esque, isn't it?
Yeah, reminds me of Goldfinger. And just like in Bond, the baddie says more than he should.
Where am I? The X-ray room, Inspector Hammer.
My head, it feels like a speed bump.
Merely a concussion.
Oh, thank goodness. I was afraid I'd banged it.
Inspector, you've cost us quite a few men.
The way you slugs are moving, Trunk's gonna die of old age.
Trunk will not survive the afternoon. In a short time, you'll receive an overdose of anesthetic. It will be considered a hospital error.
I'll never understand why you guys explain your whole plan before you kill somebody.
Don't tell me how to do my job, Inspector Hammer. As for you, you will now receive enough radiation for 1,000 lifetimes.
It's reminiscent of, in fact, predates, but it's reminiscent of one of the Austin Powers movies when they mimic that same James Bond scene.
Certainly do. This was a joke, it was made about 10 or 11 years before Mike Myers did.
I wonder if he saw it. He must have done.
I'm sure he did. So as Trunk is being led to the operating theatre, we see that Dory is quite concerned about where Hammer is.
Yeah, she goes to look for him and finds him quite quickly, I think.
She finds him just in time. I mean, he's being x-rayed at this point.
Yes. It all gets a bit slapsticky now, though.
Yeah, it does.
You can see, actually, some of it's not very well done. You see bits where Hammer falls down and Dory slowly lies down next to him, or tries to get in the right position for the next bit, but it's fine. If folk like that sort of thing, it's not maybe my favourite part of the episode, but
yeah,
it's got an audience, I'm sure.
So he's still drowsy, and he's trying to get to the operating theatre to save Trunk, and he manages to get there, and he stumbles in, and despite aiming for the bad guy's head, he shoots the deadly syringe out of his hand.
He does. Dory's impressed. That's not the first time they've used that joke either. Remember with the cigar?
Yep. At this point, the baddie, he claims he won't be taken alive.
He gets into this, as we say, the now regular fight.
Sledge is quite happy with it. He prefers him not to be taken alive, apparently.
He does, but he's still a little bit all over the place.
Yeah, and we've never seen him kill anyone.
We end up, the killer decides to hide by just standing in a row with the other doctors and assuming Sledge won't be able to pick him out.
Nope, but Sledge, he moves down the line and he unmasks each of them in turn until he finds the killer.
And punches him in the face.
Knocks him out. So that's the good news for Trunk. He has been saved. The bad news is...
he has to have the operation done by someone that can be trusted. And there's only one option. But the next thing we see is Trunk in his... In fact, at one point in this scene, Hammer stands on the bed and the shoot rides up, you see Trunk's royal blue pants.
Well, we're talking about ridiculous pants. Do you remember when Harrison Page was in the Columbo episode Undercover?
Yeah.
What happened?
I don't remember.
There was a hospital scene and...
Columbo, he wanted a change of... Yes.
Yeah, and they brought a really ridiculous pair of obnoxious trousers for him to leave the hospital
Yes,
in.
and he went to visit Tyne Daly.
Yeah, and they're both standing there. I like that.
Yes, I think we had a humorous exchange on that entire episode, so
Yeah.
if you want to go and find that, it's in the Columbo podcast.
Highly recommended.
That's great.
We're back to Trunk's office for the epilogue.
Hammer's commended by the Commissioner.
And we hear that Trunk himself has successfully testified and he is now going to be making amends with his wife. They're going to try and get the marriage back on track or back together. They're going to take a short vacation together.
I think Lake Tahoe, they said.
I
something
think
like
so.
that. But while the Commissioner's on the phone, he says that he needs Hammer to watch Trunk for an extra month.
At least an extra month.
Hammer's delighted.
Yeah.
Seems he's getting a holiday.
And Trunk is about to be tipped over the edge, I think.
As usual.
There we have it.
I like that one again.
It was a good, fun episode.
It's good. I mean, it's consistent, I think, the level now with the last few.
Yeah.
This was a smart one. I liked it.
Some trivia, some production information.
Okay.
There's not a lot this week, I have to say.
Oh.
The 13th of November 1986 was the original air date, and it was directed by Charles S. Dubin. He died in 2011, aged 92. Most famous for directing 44 episodes of MASH, he also directed Kojak, Ironside, The Defenders, Matlock, and latterly the Father Dowling shows, or Father Dowling Mysteries. I think it's got 2 different titles.
Right. I like it when directors have only done 1 episode of Sledgehammer, because it's hard for me to keep finding links for the show notes when they've done more.
I prefer when they've done more. It means I don't have to read out the trivia. He had 3 Emmy nominations. Didn't win, unfortunately. I think he won a Primetime Emmy. No, sorry, a Daytime Emmy.
That's useless. Who wants
Yeah,
that then?
I've got 4 of them.
Yeah, I think I got 1 free with this house when I bought it.
Al Jean and Michael Reese were again the dynamic writing duo. I've discussed them before.
Yeah.
And we'll discuss them in the future. Well, we might not discuss them, we'll mention them in the future.
Absolutely.
Only have 2 guest stars for you this week, Ian.
Let me guess.
Okay, so the first one is Tracy Reed, who played Renee.
Okay.
She was born in 1949 and has appeared in Knots Landing, The Love Boat, T.J. Hooker, The A-Team, and McCloud.
Decent CV there.
And she was a former Miss Teen LA. Now that's something that the States have. It seems a little bit creepy to me.
Yeah, I
You know,
never
Miss
liked that
Teen.
sort of thing. Well, the whole thing, I don't like it.
Yeah, and you get those
Especially with little kids.
the kids
as well.
beauty pageant things.
Pageant. Yeah.
Yeah, something we don't have over here. I mean, obviously we've got sort of beauty contest to an extent, but you don't get the sort of Miss Teen this and
The ones with children, it's not as much of a tradition.
Robert O'Reilly, he played the bad guy. He was born in 1950 and he has been in The Mask, Murder, She Wrote, NYPD Blue, Dallas, Cheers, The Equalizer, and T.J. Hooker.
And Star Trek The Next Generation and Star Trek Deep Space
Don't have
Nine.
that in my notes here.
Well, he was in them. He plays Gowron.
Are you sure?
Yes. He's one of the main Klingons.
Nah, I don't think so.
He only was in about 10 episodes, but
Well, that's not important, is it really?
it was because his character was important and he was kind of in the background for a
Yeah.
lot of Deep Space Nine.
Of course, I know this. You've done Star Trek Next Generation as Gowron, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Enterprise, and lots of Star Trek video games as a voice actor.
Yeah, and he was also in, if I remember correctly, the Star Trek The Next Generation video board game. Do you remember the video board game Atmosphere?
Nope.
This must have been back in the 90s when people had VHS machines. But it was a board game, but you played it with a video on the telly at the same time, and it was meant to give you an answer. You're this sort of gatekeeper, a horror character type thing. But there was a Star Trek one, and I'm pretty sure that it was Robert O'Reilly who did the video part of that.
Did you have the game?
I did. Probably still do at my parents' house. Yeah.
Was it gimmicky? Like you played it once and you went, yeah, I'm not bringing that video back. I mean, I'm trying to think, did it have a long life cycle? You know, after you played it a few times, could you keep playing this game?
Well, they kept bringing out expansion packs, so you would have to buy
No,
new...
they didn't.
They did.
Videos, really?
With new videos and new characters. So it was the same board, but you would have a new guy in the video. So what they were doing in the videos, they were often giving you timers, so you had to do certain things in a certain amount of time, and then they would yell at you from the screen. And so there was... I'm sure people will have heard of it.
I'm sure. Next week we have Magnum Farce.
That sounds like it's maybe based on something we've heard of.
Certainly is.
We'll find out.
We will. Favourite line this week?
Yes, it was near the start. It was the... Oh, in fact, no, it was when he went to Trunk. Trunk went to Hammer's apartment, and he said he was going to ridicule him in the morning.
Okay. Mine is from the top of the show. It's his range of emotions.
I need to remind people that they should be reviewing the show.
They should be.
On iTunes, even if it's not how you listen to it. Review it anywhere else if you want. If you're going to do it, please do. But iTunes is the one that helps more people find the show. So if you could go on there on your podcast app on iOS or on iTunes on your desktop computer and just give us 5 stars and a wee written review, it would make a huge difference. And if you want to keep up with us and the other listeners, you can go to sledgehammerpodcast.com where we chat about each episode as it goes by. Also, we're on social media at Sledgecast on both Twitter and Facebook.
It's been a shorter episode, Ian. Do you have anything to say before we wrap up? Or shall we just put the listeners out their misery early this week? Send them home?
Yeah, it's been like anaesthetic this week, hasn't it? So we can maybe give it a sharp exit, and we'll see folk next week.
Cheerio.
Bye bye.